But right, talk us through it. You went in, you saw she was in a manual wheelchair. She had rubber push rims, right? What manual wheelchair was she in?
I always say to therapists, don't always just replicate what's previously been done. Always try to challenge things and always try to push things to get more of a level of independence.
Did they give you any reasoning behind that? Like, you know, did they say she needs to be into abduction because she has had this, or because if we don't do this, it's going to put too much pressure on the pelvis?
Fun hack that I do, I go to Specs and I order a custom thigh guide. I ordered a big one. I ordered like a 20-inch wide thigh guide and whatever depth it was. And we use that as like a foot plate.
Do you guys, like, are reps writing good notes over there? Like, I'm quite into writing detailed notes after assessments. I think that's really important.
So it's always like destruction, excitement, cheekiness, always responds better than logic. So if you're working with a kid, if you've got boxes, if you got cushions, like put it really close and just give it like half a meter. Can you do this? Eyes lock in on the box, eyes lock in on the foot. Yep, I can do that. And then you want to start building it away.
Hello and good morning or good afternoon, good evening, wherever we're coming from. You are listening to Wheel Chat, and it is amazing today in Leeds. Where are we at, Justin? Hello, pal. Where are you?
G'day, mate. It's good to hear you've finally got some good weather going on. Every time I talk to you, I feel like it's always different. But no, we're beautiful here. We had a massive heat wave on the weekend, which is just but no, it's cooled down much more today, so that's beautiful.
Oh, amazing. Guys, thanks for tuning in again to our latest episode of Wheel Chat. We're absolutely buzzing. Things are going really well over at Wheel Chat HQ / Wheel Chat HQ Australia. So yeah, no, we're absolutely buzzing. We've had some amazing guests recently, haven't we? But we are here this morning just to, chew the fat. How's things going? How's your week been, Justin?
Yeah, good, mate. Week was good. I had a good day today, actually. I had a delivery for a young girl who was in a manual wheelchair, meaning that she kind of had those push handles that like those really thick rubbery ones to help push, but she didn't realistically ever push them. It's just kind of what she had. And months ago, we did a trial for a power wheelchair as an idea to help both carers and her and give her the opportunity for mobility. And it went just beautifully today.
Yeah.
She had a really complex setup. She had CP, complex setup, a lot of things going on. She's never really functionally mobilized herself independently. And to see her ability to do it today was just beautiful.
Oh, amazing. So listen, I want to drill your brain on this. I know everyone probably listening is going to want to as well. So I'm going to just drill that down because that sounds amazing and we all get it. It's all lovely. But right, talk us through it. You went in, you saw she was in a manual wheelchair. She had rubber push rims, right? That's what I've just picked up from you. What manual wheelchair was she in?
It is an Australian manufactured one. It's called a SMIC wheelchair. It's just like it's just basically a rigid frame wheelchair.
So
nothing fancy. They don't lift it and put it into the car. It gets transferred to vehicle transport. So it's one of those things we think, why that? Why this is like I always say to therapists, don't always just replicate what's previously been done. Always try to challenge things and always try to push things to get more of a level of independence. And luckily this AT, she was very experienced and she was completely on board with doing this. So we got called out for a power wheelchair trial. Did she drive well when we did the trial? Mate, of course not. Mate, I doubt anybody here would be that great. She had visual issues. Thanks to her CP, she had her upper limb function was pretty good, but yeah, she's got a lot of tone going on with her posture, which makes things hard. There's a bit of intellectual disability in there as well. But she is a trooper. She was excited. She was nervous. All that stuff. So we did a trial, and she lives in the Blue Mountains, which, as you probably know, is a bit more of a, as you can imagine, it's a mountainous area. And she has a driveway that was like super steep, and she gets petrified going up and down this driveway in a manual chair. She just, because imagine on a manual chair when you're not tilting, you're coming down, the anxiety strikes through. She hates doing it. She has to go in the car every time they go in the driveway, so she can't really leave the house unless it's via the car. But now, thanks to having a bit of tilt, she was very nervous about it when we first did it. We have tilt, and so when she goes down her steep driveway, she felt quite safe.
Amazing.
And she's quite small, so we were thinking about what chair do we go. We want a nice compact chair. To when you go from manual wheelchair to power chair, you don't really want a big chair to change. So we thought, what's a good compact power wheelchair? What would you consider for someone like that? Going into a power wheelchair now, a bit of a hilly environment, needs some grunt, needs some power. What would you be considering, Anton?
I would go probably, I'd be considering probably the Q300 quickie. I'd go probably the Dietz Sango mid-wheel drive slimline. I'd probably go Permobil M3, maybe something like that, possibly. Yeah. Invercare, if you're still considering that. TDX, do a slimline TDX. I'd probably be in that region-ish. There's plenty I can keep going with, but they would probably be in there. What did you say?
Yeah, and that was kind of what we went with. We ended up going with the Q300 Mini, which is great chair, good suspension, 8-inch casters, 4-pole motors, so it does well for the hills, and in her terrain was quite good. Not everywhere's quite smooth there.
Nice.
It does pretty good on the off-road. And because she had quite unique setup, well, not even that unique. I don't know if you have this as well, but we have a lot of kids that need to sit in a certain amount of abduction. So we did a specs cushion that was, I think it was 15 inches wide at the back and maybe 18 inches wide at the front. Can't remember the exact measurements.
So if anyone just is like picking up all the lingo, abduction, separation of the legs, is that the best way to describe it? It needs
to go out wide. It needs to go out wide. How, and sometimes that's necessary. I actually don't know the long-term sitting benefits of this. And I know we spoke about this with Ruben in one of our earlier episodes. And I would actually love to get one of the orthopedic surgeons on the podcast and ask him about it, because sometimes it's like you need to sit like in abduction post-surgery. And for some kids, it's like, no, we have to sit like this for years. And I just hear different things, but I'm not an expert in the need of abduction sit-in. We did have Ruben on, and I still feel a bit like I personally feel like I need a bit more information as to why. Well, for whatever reason, that was the guideline. Yeah, to sit in abduction. So luckily with specs, go on.
No, sorry, Justin, I'm obviously into it, but when you were saying you were guided, just for the reason, because if anyone's in the similar boat to yourself and myself, you take obviously lead from the professional, or if it's been passed down from the orthopedic surgeon, whatever. The reason being that you had the remit that actually they needed to be in abduction, right? So did they give you any reasoning behind that? Like, did they say she needs to be into abduction because she has had this, or because if we don't do this, it's going to put too much pressure on the pelvis, she could have dislocation. Has she had this? Like any feedback?
Yeah, in this case, I didn't ask too much because again, it comes up quite often, but generally it's because of you got a ball and socket joint, and then the ball, the femur, your leg bone doesn't sit into your hip bone socket all too well when you're sitting, and usually it's when you're growing, it kind of helps that form because when you're meant to grow standing, and when you grow sitting, that causes problems. But long term, she's about 16 years old now, so I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'd love to explore that more. But that was I guess their guidance. So what we did was cantilever armrests, meaning armrests that don't have the stem underneath it, so that allowed her legs to sit wider, and we could still maintain the backrest. So the chair frame was like 15 inches wide, and the back of the chair was 15 inches, and there's like a little bit of like a wedge on each side that would be overhanging on the chair, but that's okay. The cushion's got enough structure where it wasn't an issue. But that allowed our armrests to stay nice and snug. Because I wouldn't want to build the chair 8 inches wide. But now the chair's not narrow. Now the armrests are out and further out than they need to be. So it allows us to keep the chair in and have the legs sort of sit under the armrest.
Sweet. Nice.
But when you've got really abducted legs, you got to need to put their feet on something. And usually I'm a big center mount guy, and you kind of have to do center mount now because you can't do swing ways. Not that you need to swing ways, but you have to just send them out. But now you have to do an extra wide footboard. So what I did was, again, leaned on specs on this one because she had feet with a lot of different postures, internal rotation, inversion, all that kind of stuff was going on with her legs. You need a bit of padding. So Anton and everyone else, fun hack that I do, I go to specs and I order a custom thigh guide. I ordered a big one. I ordered like a 20-inch wide thigh guide
Yeah.
and whatever depth it was. And we used that as like a foot plate. So now I've got
nice.
a nice metal frame and padding to use as a foot plate.
Nice. Okay. I mean, that'd be cool to show people if they were listening, but I don't know if even that's possible. I don't know if you have that available or whatever.
I've got the photo here. So if anyone wants to tune in on the video version of this is the example of it. So this is the client's sheet. This is just temporarily mounted because we weren't sure what we wanted to do. Because in the back of a car, I mean, there's so much to this story. We could keep going all day, but because the length of the car mod that she had, we were very conscious of the length of the chair. So we actually built the foot plate to be whatever size she needed. So we didn't need to go the excess if we don't need to. So I didn't want to cut the chair until we checked everything. So we've temporarily mounted the foot plate like this. So it's a very long padded foot plate, but that allows it to support her feet and we can chop this off. She does have her leg coming out a bit more over here still. So even though we've got a super high contour cushion, it's still coming out. We spoke about foot cups and straps. What 16-year-old girl wants to wear foot cups and foot straps to keep her feet neutral? So they're discussing that with the physio. So until we have a plan, we're just happy with this for now. But that's essentially the go. You can see there, the cushion's a bit wider than it is at the front. And then, she recently had spinal surgery as well. So we have laterals, but didn't necessarily, they're just there to like prompt her for when she gets tired. We had the swing-way lateral pads, but given she's got spinal surgery, we're not trying to prevent a scoliosis or do anything because you've got metal rods in your back and your back's not going anywhere. What we really want is just to stop you from, when you get tired or fatigued throughout the day, just something to give her a bit of support. Okay. And then we gave her an Evo Flex belt to make it easy to click and
I love it. I love it. Okay, so that's a success.
Yeah,
look at that as
great
a success.
Well, the better success was the fact that she drove. This is the first time she's been able to independently mobilize by herself. Again, wasn't a great but what we did, we took it to the playground, big open astroturf area, and we just let her go free rein. And the cue that I always give people when they're in these situations is eyes on my shoes. And I stand in front of them and I'm like, stand about 10 meters away. And I say, keep your eyes on my shoes and just point to that. Because people always tend to look at the joystick. They look at the joystick. So I'm like, hey,
they do.
Look at my shoes. And it was funny. She did not respond to it. She kept looking at the joystick. We couldn't get her to go until I put my foot about 1 meter away from the caster wheels. And I was like, don't drive over my foot. And then all of a sudden it's, boom. I
love that.
It's always like destruction, excitement, cheekiness, always responds better than logic. So if you're working with a kid, if you got boxes, if you got cushions, like put it really close and just give it like half a meter. Can you do this? Eyes lock in on the box, eyes lock in on the foot. Yep, I can do that. And then you want to start doing it right away. So even I'm learning, right? I always tend to do this with my feet. So with kids going back, I probably should have just started with the, hey, run over my foot and get her excited over that. And then work the way back.
No, I that resonates with me massively. Like I normally, it's funny, you're on the other side of the pond and I'm saying similar things and we've never had this discussion, but I don't use the feet as such, but I say, probably more, not with my kids, because again, I do a similar thing with kids, which we'll come to, but with adults, I'll say, look at whatever you're wanting to go to, look at that. So if you're wanting to get to the television, if we're in a nursing home, or if we're outside and we want to get to the lamppost, for instance, look at that lamppost and point your hand towards the lamppost and you'll go that way, right?
Absolutely.
Because you're right, the natural, and it's so hard to think because we've been driving wheelchairs ourselves in terms of demos and stuff for years and years, so you don't remember what you do, but you probably would have looked down initially. Of course you would have, because but I always say when you walk, you don't look at the ground when you walk. You don't look at your feet when you walk. You look ahead, right? When you
drive, you don't look at the steering wheel, do you?
Yeah, exactly. But it's cool, like that you're saying that. And then with kids, I often just like have a game, like exactly like you say. I'll just say, you can't catch me, because as soon as you say you can't do something to a kid, they're going to try and do it, right? So I always just play the game.
Just like me,
Um,
mate. You tell me I can't do something, mate. Watch me.
it's probably the same. You're right. It's probably we're all the same, right?
Yeah.
But like with kids, it's fun.
Mm.
So that's really cool. Anything else happening this week so far?
That was a good one. What else have I done? What do you tell me about you? Well, I think about it, mate. Tell me Monday where we are, but
I've
how was the week last week?
Yeah, true. It feels like a week already. I've only just got up. But no, I had a nice week last week. Had loads going on. I suppose the thing that I was thinking about was a guy. We'd been out like a month ago. It was actually one of my colleagues. I just did the handover because he was off on holiday. But about a month ago, he went out. I was reading the notes, which is really important while you write notes. I don't know. Do you guys are reps writing good notes over there? Like I'm quite into writing detailed notes after assessments. I think that's really important. I know the therapists will do that naturally because they're doing justifications and and that's the right thing. But I don't think reps in general probably write a lot of notes. I'm just going to put it out
Nah.
there. You can send in your comments to us at Wheel Chat if you totally disagree, and I'm happy to be proved wrong. But
Yeah.
I'm not a betting man, but I'm going to put a bet out that people are just like writing a prescription form, writing maybe a note that's relative to that. But like we should be writing notes more because my colleague had written excellent notes on this. So I had some really good detail going in. What, you guys writing good notes? Justin?
Nah, I mean, look, I do it. Like we have our own internal systems where we put, what we want on the quote and all the parts, and we'll put like notes from the trial. Half of the people do it. It's hard to say. I know with myself, I could be better at it. I'll do it for like the really complex ones, or when I know I've done something that's a bit weird. If someone does need to hand it over, they need to know why I've done this. But I'll always, no excuse, always take photos of trials, deliveries, everything. And I think if you can't take notes, if you don't want to do that, photo at least, just to see what cushions you trialed, and you might even know by the cushion you trialed or the chair what size that is, and you can see, that was actually too deep, so why didn't we go shorter or longer? There's a lot of evidence in photos that people can derive from. So if you're an ATP or an OT, photos while they're in their current chair, while they're in the trial chair and at the delivery chair, you should have one photo of each of those stages.
Nice tip. So he'd basically gone out, done the assessment. There'd been a couple of companies out before us. He had a set of Twy-on wheels, which is like an Alba product, and I know you'll be aware of that, I'm sure. But for anyone out there, it's like a power assist self-propel wheel. So when you go to propel the wheel, it will give you certain rotations more. So like if you push it, instead of it pushing once and you get one rotation, you push it once and it gives you like 3 rotations, right? Like in
turns you into Superman.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, he had this product for years. He really loved them, didn't want to get rid of them. But the other companies, for whatever reason, and I'm not judging because I think we can all fall suit, is that they wanted to prescribe him new wheels there's new wheels that have subsequently come out or other options available since he's obviously had the Twy-ons. And to be fair, from the notes that I could read and the pictures that my colleague had taken, he maybe didn't look after. Well, in fact, I'm not even like, it was a state, the chair that he had. It was an absolute state. But there was nothing actually wrong with the wheels. They needed a service, they needed a cleanup. We checked them. There was nothing wrong. So he needed just a basic manual wheelchair. He didn't he didn't have a huge budget. He was paying privately. So we just supplied him a new Action 3, redid the Twy-on wheels. I think we've put some new rims on there just to make it look better and feel better. And he sat brilliantly and he's one happy guy. But instead of paying like £4,000, £5,000, or more, actually, probably, he spent what, 800-900 UK pounds and he's good to go. So that made me feel good. That made me feel good. And he was happy. And it's the same result. We have a happy customer.
Have a happy customer who didn't need to spend that much money.
Yeah. I don't know what your thoughts are, but like, is it just, again, it's hard because I'm not prejudging. I'm genuinely not. I know we've all been there, but maybe, is it easier just to go new sometimes than going down? Like, I don't know. What's your thoughts?
Definitely easier. Like us as sales representatives, it's definitely easier to say, hey mate, look, you just need a new chair. It's less risk for us. It's less work. It's more margin, I guess. And I'm saying this just honestly, like this is just how businesses work. Like you don't charge for your time. So, if you sort of led him to a sale that costs more, it's better for you in the business. That is it best for him. I guess if you're just looking at it purely what's best for him as a private sale, depends how you look at it. If he's beating his chair up, I mean, maybe like I said, if it's working fine. I'm surprised that his chair's beaten up and that the Twi-on wheels are okay. Because from my understanding, those spring, so the way these wheels work, the push rooms are on like a spring. And when you push the spring, it reads it and then it amplifies your push. But those springs are quite sensitive. Like if you're throwing them on the ground and you're not looking after them, because they're not bolted in like a regular push rim, you can damage them. So if he's hard on his chair and they're still okay, mate, credit the Alba. But those were all okay, were they?
Yeah, no, I will. From what I read on the notes, I could see we'd put some new rims on, but we'd only put the actual rim on. We hadn't changed anything. But I just think,
the sensors.
Yeah, no, I think the guys had just done a really good, I mean, to be fair, I think we just did a good job on that one, and which made me proud of like the team and everyone. It was really nice, but it was wholesome, Justin. It was wholesome. And I know anyone listening, like from like a representative's point of view or anyone who's doing equipment, like, it does feel good, right? I know, like you're absolutely right that you don't make as much or that it's going to be easier, and you don't maybe want to also like pick up someone else's work either. Like you want to, if somebody's come in and done a job, and then you're coming in and sort of tweaking that, it's not great. Like, and that's not a criticism against maybe the person before us. It's just, you don't know where their mind was at that moment or whatever. But this is different though. This was different. He just outused the chair, so he just needed it. But that was cool. That was cool. That was a nice cool handover. Cool. And any other? I've got a question for you. I've noticed. Yeah. So couple of new chairs that I'd noticed we'd supplied. This was me, so I'll take that. We'd supplied to some children, a couple of and they'd had some unbelievable growth spurts, cerebral palsy. So not really width was an issue. Like we've prescribed the chair. They were around, I think the one child that's really I'm thinking about, it was around about 10 years old. I think when we supplied it, she's now just about 11 and a half, something like that. And she has outgrown the depth already. It's only been about a year since we supplied. So, which is a bit like, because I mean, I don't know what you say, but like, would you say like 3 years is 2.5, 3 years is maybe realistic in terms of growth when somebody says, how long is this going to last me? And you can never put your name to it. You don't know, but what's your thoughts on this whole scenario? Like,
yeah, I mean, the scripted kids chairs is something I do quite often, and it is tricky. On the chair you had, did they have a depth adjustable back frame?
Yeah, I mean, we were lucky because on this instance because say lucky, we used like the Key Mobility products a lot, which you get your free growth kit with that. So it worked really well, but we thought the growth kit wouldn't be needed for at least another year.
Yeah. Was this a rigid frame or a folding frame chair? Oh, was it a rigid frame or a folding frame chair?
Well, no. It wasn't a manual this way. Well, it was a manual. It was tilt and space. So it was, the Flip XP.
Yeah.
Folding.
Yep. I do know it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think with me, with kids, I would always just say, anyone who's under 16, depends on a few things. So I think generally they're going to grow in more length. So as long as your chair has some sort of depth adjustable back frame, so that's where the back post can go back on the existing frame. That means you can grow the chair and the only parts you need to change is the cushion. I think that's really good. On a rigid chair specifically, it can be nerve-wracking because you can't go wider. So if you script a child in 12 by 12 with a depth adjustable back frame, that means that can go from 12 inches wide, 12 inches deep, but it can go 13, 14, or maybe even 15, depending on the child's growth. So the chair's got that growth into it, and that should really last them, I would say even 3, maybe even to 5 years. Like having 3 inches of femur length in growth is quite a long time. If they grow in width, that's where it can be a bit challenging as well. So I think with width, I would say if they're self-propelling, just script it for what they need. And if they grow wider, they grow wider. Like, and there's ways around that. But if they're not self-propelling, then maybe you can probably leave a bit of wiggle room. But if they're self-propelling, I mean, like the only kids who are like really self-propelling really well, I would say are like your spinal bifida clients, like clients who just have no, like generally with kids, it's not because they've been in a car accident like your adult population. It's not because they've got motor neuron disease or something. It's generally when you work with kids, and 90% of the time it's going to be because of cerebral palsy.
Hi, sorry, I didn't feel the prompt there. I'm sorry.
Cerebral palsy, right? So there's usually like a general body weakness, and they're not going to be pushing themselves function. This is I'm generalizing here, but this is what can happen. So I think if they're just pushing themselves short distances, you could probably leave a bit of room for width for them to grow into. But if they are actively pushing themselves, you don't want to make it harder for themselves because they weigh 10 kilos. The chair probably weighs 10 kilos. It's like me pushing an 80 kilo chair around. You want to make it as optimal as possible for them. So I wouldn't allow for too much growth, but maybe a little bit in the width. And even in the worst case scenario, I know with Tylight, they do like offset side guards. So they'll like space them out. So if you've got a 16-inch wide, if you've got a 12-inch wide chair, you've got plenty of depth built into the chair. And if you have to go wider, you can do like offset side guards, which means it might be a 12-inch wide frame. 12 is not a good example because 12 you have like width adjustable frames. Let's say you've got a 14-inch wide frame and the client has grown in depth, which you've got accounted for, but they've also grown in width. If that really did happen, you don't even have to go to a new chair. You could just go offset side guards where you'd put maybe a 15 or 16-inch wide cushion onto the chair and the frame would stay in that 14-inch wide, which isn't ideal, but it gives you a bit of breathing room to the next chair.
Okay, cool. All right, sweet. Yeah. All right. Well, look, listen, we're having a little chat here and we're going to be finishing up shortly, guys. So wherever you are, if you're about to get out and have an appointment. But any tips for the week, Justin? I mean, obviously you've just given me a beautiful finale, but anything else you want to just finish on?
Tips for the week. Based on what we just said, if you're scripting for a child, maybe script the depth right up to their knees. Don't worry about the 2-finger gap. Just script right up to the knees to give them plenty of depth growth into it. Width, script the width that they actually need. If they're not pushing, maybe you can go a bit wider to allow for a bit more width growth. Nice. If you're driving a power wheelchair, if you're coaching someone to drive a power wheelchair, make sure their eyes are locked onto your feet or something destructive. You'll see a night and day difference in their ability to drive. So those would be my 3 tips for the week, everybody.
Nice. Guys, if you have any questions, if you're wanting us to talk about any sort of content, please do get in touch. We're having some amazing comments coming in. And it's really all positive, but anything or anyone's feedback is always appreciated. So please do get in touch on the link below. Otherwise, do feel free to click like and subscribe because that is important to us, and it does allow us to keep making our Wheel Chat podcast, which we really enjoy, don't we?
Yeah, we do. I just love to catch it up.
We do.
So if no one's listening,
you see, you're missing the prompt. You're missing the prompt, Phil. We'll get there. We'll get there. Guys, it's all good. Listen, you have a smashing week, and everyone who's listening, everyone have a great week too. Please don't forget to click back in and listen to our new next episode of Wheel Chat. Thanks for listening, guys.
Thanks, guys. We'll chat to you next week.